So hi, everybody, and welcome to another session of Lab Automation 101. Today, I'm delighted, really delighted to have the Associate Professor in Preclinical Drug Discovery at the University of Uppsala in Sweden, Jordi Puigvert. Jordi, welcome.
Hey, thanks so much, Alex. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Absolutely.
And Jordi, I'm going to take from your accent and from your name, I'm assuming you're from Barcelona originally.
Yes, I'm close by Barcelona. Yeah, a small village called Molins de Rey. But anyway, so let's say Barcelona. Yeah.
Okay. How did you end up in Sweden then?
No, so I ended up in here because I think that many of us that we move abroad from our original homes, it was obviously love. So yeah, my wife is Swedish. She's from Uppsala. She's a pharmacist, and now she's a teacher here at the university. But we actually met in the Netherlands, where we were doing our PhDs in the same lab in Leiden.
Okay. Well, if there's any good reason to move, I suppose going with your wife is a good reason, to be honest. Perfect.
Indeed.
Okay. So, Jordi, I usually start with one same question for every guest that we have on. My question usually is, I ask the guest to define lab automation. All the guests we've had before, they've either been resellers or manufacturers of lab automation. But I'm interested from someone in academia, actually, how you would define lab automation.
That's a good question. I think that lab automation, in the way that we see it, it's a reproducibility tool for us. So for us, lab automation, basically it implies that we can do more things more repetitively, and hopefully more robustly in a way, so that we can basically multitask more. And that's how we like to do it. Also, for us, automation means having autonomous systems that actually we can maybe trigger them to actually eventually also think about coming up with the best next experiment. Which is, we can maybe down the line in the conversation, we will talk about it a little bit, but this is one of our ultimate goals, to use automation to actually do autonomous experiments, like for real.
Oh, that would be cool, to be honest. So, yeah. One of the reasons we got you on, Jordi, is because, as far as I know, the University of Uppsala is the only university, again, as far as I know, maybe you'll correct me, tell me otherwise, that offer actually a course in lab automation.
Yes.
And I think that's, to say it in very simple terms, I think it's pretty cool, to be honest. Let's go for that. But I also think it's very forward-thinking as well. So maybe just walk us through a little bit the course, what it entails, what it involves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that there are a couple of courses at the university level, both in the US and the UK, but I don't know the details, so I don't want to say anything wrong. Where I have seen a couple of programs where students are basically exposed to lab automation as well, to a certain level. But here in Sweden, and I think that in Europe, it's pretty unique. What we came up with was it's a master's level course where the students they are in touch with lab automation instruments in order for them to gain the experience to actually what it is to perform a laboratory experiment using automation.
Right.
We thought about how to do this in a way that the students could get the best out of it. So there is a specific application at the end of the course, which is high throughput imaging and high content imaging. And one of the reasons is because my background is in phenotypic drug discovery, so I've been using high throughput imaging, I think since the beginning of my PhD, and that's 10 plus years.
Right.
So then I have a bit of a passion for that. I think the potential of the technology is huge, as it has been shown before. So that's why we thought that we could end up with such application. This has been challenging because how do you give a lab automation course where each student has an instrument and then a microscope also on top of that was challenging. But the way that we thought about the course is as follows. So we wanted the students to have an overview of what lab automation is, but the challenge was, how do we do it in a way that actually the students have the chance to even work with lab automation instruments, and what kind of instruments do we put out there? So we actually we thought, okay, what we wanted to have is several stations. Let's say you imagine a lab, okay, and we have several stations. In each station, we actually have a liquid handling instrument. This was key because we thought that liquid handling instruments, or liquid handling, basically is a key component of lab automation. Anything you do, any reaction, any process, any experiment will go through a liquid handling procedure at some point. So we thought that this was key. So then we have actually five different liquid handling instruments. They're all the same. And then another component is what we call sample management, which would be then basically plate management, because we work with multi-well plates. So then we incorporated one robotic arm to each of the liquid handling instruments. The liquid handling instruments ended up being Flow Robotics. So we have 5 FlowBot 1 from Flow Robotics, really nice liquid handling instruments. And then we have from a small company, which I think is located in San Francisco, it's Dorna Robotics. We have their Dorna 2, each of them also hooked to the FlowBot 1. And then for that, Richard Nystrom, who was a teacher in our group, actually designed 3D and 3D printed the grippers for the Dorna. And then basically what the Dorna does is to move plates within the FlowBot 1 and also from the FlowBot 1 to the microscope. So in this way, then we cover now liquid handling instruments or liquid handling moving plates, right? Sample management, and then we move to the microscopes, and then the microscopes. So how do we couldn't buy 5 high throughput, high content automated microscopes because this would be too much, too expensive. So we teamed up with the group of Manu Prakash in Stanford. And he's one of his PhD students, Hongchuan Li. He's an incredibly talented PhD student. Basically, they came up with a framework which is called SQUID, SQUID framework. And then we built a microscope that it's actually a 5 fluorescent channel microscope with bright field imaging in an automated stage with one objective. And we do automated imaging with that, which is I think it's pretty cool. So then now we have covered everything, right? So we have liquid handling, we have sample management, and then an end application, which is microscopy.
That's pretty amazing. And Jordi, I think if you think back maybe 10 years ago when you first started your PhD, and you ever think that 10 years later you'd be talking about all these things?
Yeah, no. I mean, I've been through quite a lot of different sort of during my career, very different things. But talking about instrumentation and technical aspects of our experiments and everything, it has been always there. And now I have had the chance to actually make it happen. So it's very exciting, and it's been amazing to show and to talk about the course to many people. And I mean, in LinkedIn, of course, we put it in there, and the reaction was amazing. I was getting direct messages from many people saying, "This is amazing! This is amazing! Can we contribute? Let me know if you need a teacher, or just let me know if you need any help, and I will help you." Because apparently the community was really craving for it, and I'm very, very happy about that, actually.
I mean, it's amazing, just with advances in technology and so forth. And I think everybody wants to help, to contribute, and so forth. I think the community is rather small, to be honest. I'm not a scientist. I come a little bit from an outside industry and so forth. And one of the things I'm trying to encourage is a lot more communication, a lot more, let's say, working together, because I think it's in everyone's benefit. Spreading the message about lab automation and the benefits it can have, for all labs, in all honesty.
Absolutely.
And so, Jordi, what I guess the next question really is, why did you see the importance of launching such a course?
Yeah, so then that is a key question. So we realized, we work with automation in our lab. So we built our own robotic cell, and we realized where we're using automation every day, and no such course exists as far as we know. And we think that it's very important for the students to actually learn these things. And the reason is because we see automation in every life sciences field. So with this in mind, then we realized. So what if we now give the opportunity to the students to actually learn a new skill that they can use down the line, their careers, whatever careers they choose. I mean, if they want to stay in academia, they can use the skill because the neighboring labs might have automation systems. And if they go to industry, they tick the box where have you worked with lab automation? Yes. So then that is beneficial for them too. So I think that it was very clear that we wanted to do it. Mainly, well, I mean, obviously we like automation, but also because we saw a clear benefit for the students, of course.
No, for sure. And do you think that, Jordi, if you think, let's say, outside of the university, you think about the labs, let's say, that focus primarily on manual processes, do you think labs like that moving forward, and I don't say today, but moving forward in the future, that those are the type of labs that are going to be left behind while everybody else advances with automation?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you will always have the labs that they just need to do manual experiments. I mean, so some biological experiments and some physics experiments and some scientific experiments in general, they need this manual touch, and they cannot be automated. I mean, not everything as you have discussed with other guests and so on. Not everything can be automated, and not everything should be automated. But I do think that incorporation of automation for some labs is definitely an advantage. It can allow you to do more experiments more efficiently, maybe move forward a little bit faster, have better results faster, more reproducible. But for some others, it's just not a good way to go. It's also a matter of resources, a matter of space, a matter of personnel that they just want to, either they don't have the chance or the knowledge, or they don't want to be taught automation. That can also be. So I think that there will always be maybe what might happen is that if you have now 50-50, let's say, at some point, the labs going towards automation, we go towards more than 75%, and then the ones that don't use automation will be this 25%. But they have to be there. They have to exist because they do this, more manual, more detective work, that it has to be manual.
Sure. And I think historically, there's always been like two key barriers to automation in general. It's usually been cost and complexity. And as we make more technological advances and so forth, cost is coming down and complexity is coming down. And the better systems today actually are reasonably priced and very actually like plug and play almost.
Exactly. Yeah. And this has revolutionized in a way lab automation, right? Because I mean, when I started working with lab automation was already during my PhD, and we had this massive Beckman culture that it was, when it was installed, it was a whole thing in the faculty. Wow, look at the robot, and it was was like super huge, and it was I am not even aware of how that was purchased. I don't know, but it was clear that it was a very specialized instrument, huge, and that it was not for everybody. But now, 10 years later, you have multiple of very small automated instruments that you can use as standalone, and those are affordable. You can have them anywhere in the lab bench, and then people can start actually doing experiments with small parts of automation. And I think that is key. That has definitely revolutionized a lot of the lab automation in the labs, definitely.
For sure. And I think also it's opened it up to more people in the lab also, because it's simpler. You don't have to have one person who's, okay, that's my robot guy. That's the guy who's going to handle everything. You know, this
exactly.
It's a lot simpler. It widens it up.
Exactly.
Jordi, I'm interested from your perspective, because we've had some discussions about automation and innovation, and whether, you know, automation actually limits the creativity or whether actually can enhance. So just from your perspective, be curious to see where you stand on that.
Yeah, I think there is a very good balance. I think that I agree that automation can sort of, you know, when a protocol is done, you don't want to touch it anymore. So that sort of hampers this tinkering with the protocol to try to improve it or make something new, because it just takes too much time to rebuild the whole protocol. But at the same time, I think that it's almost a personal choice, right? If you have a forward-thinking mind and you want to change the protocol to make it better, to maybe invent something new, a new reaction, a new way of doing things, either if it's manual or if it's automated, you will do it. But if you are in the automation sort of, let's say, I don't know, maybe not in research but in work, it just works. You know, you press go and the robot does the experiment for you. Then maybe indeed you're not looking for, you know, you don't want to get into trouble, so you just leave it as it is, in a way.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So Jordi, I'm interested to go back to what you first spoke about. We first introduced you. You spoke about autonomous experiments, I think it was.
Yes.
So I'm interested to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So before I joined the group here in the group of pharmaceutical bioinformatics, the lab was mainly computational, and then when I was recruited, then the idea was to bring more cell-based assays. Because and one of the reasons is because the basically grand vision of that we have is that we want to have a closed loop autonomous system that basically does experiments, and then this is basically controlled by artificial intelligence, and then the results are basically analyzed and assessed by an artificial intelligence algorithm, and then the experiments are basically iterated in a closed loop until we find the right experiment and the right result. So we are working towards that direction. We're not there yet, but we do have a relatively autonomous robotic system.
And just sorry to interrupt you, but so what would that mean then for the lab? You know, if you're able to get to that point.
Well, then we will become a lot more thinkers about what we're looking at. So what kind of results is the robot coming up with? And I think that it will revolutionize a little bit in the way that we think about the results that we obtain. Because now, you know, you do an experiment. Sometimes you expect a certain result, so you assess it in a certain way, right? And then if it doesn't, and then you want to validate it, and then you come up with a way of an orthogonal assay or something to validate that result. But I think that if we have a fully autonomous lab, we need to think very carefully about what biological application we want to apply it to, or what biological question we want to answer. And we're thinking about drug combinations, for instance, for potential cancer therapies. And I think this will kind of revolutionize the way that we think about experimentation. And I mean, yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's very difficult. We don't know entirely how the whole procedure will go, but we're very excited about it.
And it sounds to me, Jordi, that actually doing something like that, you know, what we spoke about earlier, actually helps and enhances innovation, because you have a little bit more, well, in reality, because you have more thinking time. And the more time you have to think about it, the more creative and innovative you can be subsequently. Yeah,
you're right, and absolutely. And also because, you know, if we really want to have an autonomous system, we also need to think very carefully how we're going to handle everything that the system does. And that is basically pure innovation, because we don't know how that is going to be. So we will have to think about new ways of dealing with the data and new ways of interpreting what the robot is telling us, and new ways of applying the knowledge that we actually obtain from such experiments. And that definitely will drive, I'm absolutely certain it will drive innovation forward, for sure.
It's really interesting. And Jordi, I think my final question really is along the lines of other academic institutions, other universities, and so forth. What do we have to do, or what can be done to encourage them also to take the steps that the University of Uppsala has taken with this course?
I think that we need to make sure that that everybody understands how important this is. I think that I mean it is very difficult to convince universities just to come up with a new course, because it's also a matter of cost. And that's something that we need to be clear about, that it's not easy. And also for certain universities, it's also not it's just not easy to change completely change a program and then incorporate a new course. But I think that maybe us, we are the first ones, and hopefully the word will spread, and then other universities will embrace it. But I think that what is very important is that whoever is making the decisions needs to see the benefit of such a course. And I think that it will happen. It's just a matter of time. And I think that also, well, one of the things that might have sparked also these ideas in our case is that we are very close to, in Sweden there is a lot of innovation. There is a lot of life science. We are part of something called the Science for Life Laboratories as well, SciLife Lab, and which is basically a conglomerate of life science infrastructure and research groups. And there is a lot of technology and a lot of technology development and lab automation. So this basically is the perfect niche to have also this kind of courses. So it might be that we are a bit of an outlier in a way, but I do think that if universities embrace the fact that in life technologies, automation is basically everywhere, and there are very, very powerful life sciences programs around Europe and around the world. As long as they embrace this, as long as they realize that this is important, I think they will see it. It will happen. It will happen.
I mean, I think most universities, it takes a little bit of time, but they typically respond to really, I'm going to say to the needs of business to an extent. So, as lab automation, I think, as the adoption rates go up, as more people start using it, they usually then is pressure then on the universities, not only the universities, I think even like the high schools, so to get people excited about life sciences and so forth. And I actually really believe that lab automation can make your work a little bit more exciting, even because you're getting rid of maybe all the boring stuff you don't have to do. You can, you're a talented person, you've gone to this business, into this field for a reason, because of your love of science.
Exactly.
You want to be innovative, you want to be creative. You don't want to be doing the tedious stuff necessarily. You can come of it, obviously.
Exactly. I mean, you should see the students. I mean, they were so excited when they saw all the instruments, and they were moving, and they were. And they immediately started playing with the software, and they got it like super quick, and they were very, very excited. And I agree. I think that in these modern times, right, where everything is digital and everything is technological, I think it's just the way to go, really.
And because you're right, because we do, to be honest, everything else that we do, we are using in all this technology and so forth, if you think about it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Jordi, I really thank you very much. It was a lovely chat. I really appreciate your time, and
thanks so much.
I wish you a lot of success with your course. I'm sure it's a great success, but even more success, and I'm sure it will continue to grow. And I think hopefully we'll be able to check in with you in the future. I'm really interested to see the autonomous loop, how it comes along. That would be pretty interesting.
Yes, anytime. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed talking about this and having a conversation with you, Alex. That was it was great. Thanks so much.